The Forge of Light is here, the very first one in Season 2 of Call of Dragons. And weirdly enough, these are two artifacts that I don't think that I need. So stick around in this video for my review of Oath of the Stormpeak and also Viola's bow and why I'm not going to spend a single key on either of these. Hello, my friends, and welcome back. I'm Chisgule Gaming, and this is a weird situation where I don't think I'm interested in either artifact from this Forge of Light. So in this video, I'm going to walk through why I was initially hyped about some of these artifacts and why I no longer am. And a part of that has to do simply with the timing. So let's start with the newer one, the Oath of the Stormpeak, the one that I should be really hyped for, the one that I originally kind of was really hyped for. The Oath of the Stormpeak summons a duplicate of yourself, and that duplicate takes a bunch of extra damage, but also deals damage. So I'll show the max level attributes here. It summons a clone of your legion. Cloned legions can attack other legions and units, but cannot be recalled to cities, gather resources, build structures, or enter portals. When the original legion is defeated or enters a city, its clone will disappear. So the clone's attributes and skills are identical to your legion, and it can cast rage skills. However, it deals less damage and takes more damage. Your clone legion deals 70% less damage than your normal legion, and it takes 800% more damage. And it looks like it only lasts for 30 seconds. And the passive ability here is cool. Passive. When one of your legions inflicts cowardice on an enemy, it gains rampage. So this is obviously a cavalry item to pair with Forondil. And what you gain here is rampage, damage dealt, increased by 10%, and it lasts for 10 seconds. It's a nice passive effect. Happens every skill cycle on Forondil. So, I mean, you are dealing 10% more damage, which is, look, that's really good. I mean, that does seem good. You get 40% cavalry attack, 22% legion attack, and this is a 7.5% artifact, which is really important. So you get 7.5% less damage taken, and you get 7.5% more damage dealt. So I'm inclined to believe that this could be cool, but I've talked to people who are using it, and they're like, bro, it sucks, which I just find, kind of surprising. But also, here's the weirdness, right? So last season, we had the opportunity to get Spring Blades. So the question is not, in a vacuum, is that artifact good? But is it better than what you already have? And the Spring Blades is really good. It does a bunch of damage when it gets thrown out, and it does damage per second in its location, and it does damage to everything when it returns to you. And when your legion is under a passion effect, you get keen, increasing your attack by 30% for 5 seconds. So this is obviously an Emrys item, but also is okay with Bakshi, who also gets passion. So if we look at what your options are here, we see Forondil inflicts cowardice, okay, on his active skill. And if we look at the awakening, when Forondil's legion launches a normal attack against a legion that has cowardice, there are effects that trigger here, but still only one way in the game to trigger cowardice right now, right? Let's see if there's some other way. Does Theodore have a way to trigger cowardice? Not on the active, not on the second, not on the third. Let's see if it's on the fourth. Not on the fourth. So Theodore also doesn't have a way to deal cowardice. So they'd have to release another cavalry hero sometime in the future that does cowardice to get more triggers of that passive effect. So, man, is it good? Is the clone good? I actually don't know if it's worth going for. And here's the thing is that if it's worth going for, I mean, to get multiple copies of this thing, aren't we talking about a $1,000 to $2,000 invest? You want to get this to 5 stars? I don't know. I am inclined to just stick with what I have in this instance. I'm not sure that spending my money on this is what gets me the big gain. And I'm going to talk about that more in a minute, right? Because spending your in-game resources on stuff is not just about, is it going to give you a gain or not? It's about figuring out the best gain for your spend, right? So Viola's bow is the next artifact here, and I'm also planning to skip this. And it's weird because I was so hyped for Viola's bow. Like, if I could have gotten this in Season 1, I would have maxed it, hands down. If I had got my hands on this bow in Season 1, I would already have it maxed. So this bow does a couple things that are both cool and weird. The first thing I want to call out is that it's giving marksman unit hit points. It's giving HP, not attack. So good news, bad news. Good news is that your marksmen often do end up tanking, but bad news is that marksmen aren't there to soak damage. So like giving them hit points instead of attack is kind of an L. And they also get Legion hit points is the second ability here. The next thing that's kind of an L is that it's 33% instead of a 40% artifact. I don't know if that's the case with all hit point related artifacts, if it's 33, but I think this is signaling strongly that it's kind of like a Season 1 artifact, not a top tier artifact. So it has only 33% hit points and then 17% hit points. If we just get a look real quick at another infantry artifact that I think has got health, right? Like, I'm pretty sure that at the max level of this bad boy, it looks like it is 17% hit points over here. I don't know if this goes to 33 for the health or if it goes to 40. Maybe I'm making a big deal out of something that isn't a big deal. But anyways, we just saw the other artifact goes to 40 and 22 worth of stats. And this artifact is only going to 33 and 17. All right. The other thing I'll point out is that percentage-based boosts work off of your units' base stats. So if you're learning something about the way the game works right now, consider throwing a like on the vid and consider subscribing. So if we go to our, marksman over here, well, if it's working off of the base stats for a marksman, their health is only 211, but their attack is 452. So in terms of like total gain, you get a lot more total gain putting attack onto your archers. I mean, maybe my understanding here is wrong, but percentage-based boosts on such a low base stat is not doing much for you. Compared to attack is like the jam on archers. So I get that I want to make my archers more tanky, but like, is this good? I don't know, man. And we're not done yet because the effect here is really crazy. What does it actually do? We haven't even started on that. So what this does is it silences artifact abilities on all the targets you hit for 10 seconds. So you can hit 5 targets, rectangle area in front of you, like a Shadow Blades, and do 3,200 damage factor, which all seems really good until you realize that a maxed out Shadow Blades is like 3,600 damage factor. And so the weirdness here is, are you actually even going to hit 5 targets? Maybe. And if you do hit all targets, okay, is it worth it to you that sometimes the silence is relevant and sometimes it's completely irrelevant? Like, you could silence somebody who's already used their artifact. You could silence somebody who wasn't planning to use their artifact. I mean, there's a bunch of situations where, like, you silence them and nothing happens, is what I'm trying to say. Like, no upside from the silence, in which case you're literally just doing a worse Shadow Blades, right? So, given that you can get Shadow Blades for free, in fact, I've gotten this 100% free. I could take it to 5 skills if I wanted. I am not sure that spending $1,000 to $2,000 trying to get the Viola's bow is the right play, right? Like, I don't know about that. So what would the Viola's bow have to do for me to feel like, oh yeah, no, this is the jam? It would certainly need to be a 7.5% artifact instead of a 5% artifact. I genuinely don't know why at this first true opportunity to get Viola's bow, we're still being given 5% artifacts. This doesn't make any sense to me. I really think that this should have more punching power. And I think if this had a passive effect, it would be a completely different conversation about whether or not it's worth it. If this had a passive effect, you would have my attention. I am generally hyped about an event that does give 2 artifacts that I don't have. That is generally a great plan, because when we actually go to this event, remember that ultimately you have an elevated chance for both of these, and the chance is equal for the 2 of them, except you can activate a pity draw if you want for one or the other. I originally selected Viola's bow. I think now I would actually instead select Oath of the Stormpeak as my sort of priority here. And if we look at what the other options would be, these are really bad. I mean, this is all pretty bad. The Wolf Woman of Healer, I've seen cute stuff, but I don't know that I'd call it good. The Lucius Horn is obviously a gathering item that, like, yeah, you actually use it every day, but I'm not excited about Springs of Silence, Tear of Arbon, or really Fang of Ashkari. It's not bad. Fang of Ashkari it ain't bad for infantry. You roll up, drop a damage field on the ground, but it's not meta either. So none of those are really hype. So where am I at with this particular Forge of Light? I mean, I got 495 keys. I think I spent like $1,200 for all those keys. And yeah, no, I'm probably not going to use them. I'm very tempted to just unlock this thing. Now that we're at the tail end of the video, I want to talk about the super secret important thing, which I was alluding to earlier, which is, hey, what's the best way to improve your account? And given the artifacts I've already got, and given the artifacts you can get access to for free, I mean, bro, for cavalry, look, as cool as it is to clone your legion, okay, as cool as that is, like, for free, you could use a Kingslayer or a Sorlin's Blade for free. Those are pretty good. Those are pretty damn good. Like, how much are you really gaining? I don't know at this point what 30 seconds of an extra unit gets you. Theoretically, it's giving you some damage mitigation if your enemy targets it instead of you, and it's giving you extra damage. I mean, it seems like it'd be cool, but I've got my buddies telling me it sucks, so I don't know what to do here. Yeah, I don't know. In this regard, the Gold Crest is kind of the same, right? Like, it's theoretically badass, but because of the way the targeting works, it often kind of sucks. So I'm pretty lukewarm on going for this thing. And as I was saying, this sort of super secret call out is that, so the best way to increase your account might not actually be an artifact. It might be instead to just go in and get more troops, man. Because the more troops you have, the more passive healing you get over here. And so the thing that actually I think benefits most accounts more than artifacts is actually just getting more troops. I think that's actually the super secret here is, like, you know, you can spend a lot of money on these other things, but until you're like 200 plus million power and you reach the sort of cap for daily gain of free healing, I think that just like getting more troops is the jam, right? This percentage based elixir stuff is like such a big deal. In fact, I mean, I could just gem this bad boy right now. So, like, it's such a big deal to get that. I think that's, like, troops is the answer. I really do. And one thing I forgot to mention is, you know, not only is there a marksman artifact option over here already, the Shadow Blades, but if you are using 2 marksman marches and you don't have a rattle spear and don't plan to get one, and you don't have a gold crest and you don't plan to get that either, then I would say the Viola's bow is actually really compelling. But I think that, you know, shouldn't you have a rattle spear? I don't know. I guess the Viola's bow is more universal. If you have a Kanara and you move all in on it, you probably should have a rattle spear. And if you have a Freygar, I could see you going for gold crest and I could see you not going for gold crest. So theoretically, there is room for a Viola's bow as to say, like, yeah, this is one of my 2 artifacts and I really like them. And, like, yeah, if you use 2 marksmen, Shadow Blades and Viola's bow, I support it. I really do support that. But for me at this time, I think this Forge of Light is a pass, which is weird because I'm like, here, take my money for artifacts, generally speaking. The only thing I've got a question mark about is how good this Oath of the Stormpeak is, because I haven't spent for it. and I can see it being pretty good. Where is this good? I think it would be in situations where you're not getting targeted. So the weirdness here is that, like, I think this could be better on a mage march that's super high damage and just sits in the back, is not taking damage, hopefully, and just does a bunch of damage in. I feel like actually mages is where this would have been way better. But I don't know, man. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. If you go for this Forge of Light, let me know how it goes as well. I'd be eager to see that down below. Okay, so we do have an event running called the Trial of Light, and I love that they actually have both the heroes and the new artifact available to try. So we're going to do the Trial of Light, and we're totally going to use the new artifact. This is actually kind of hype. So let's see how this goes. I'm going to bring some of my own marches, and I'm going to bring some of their suggested marches. We'll see how that works out for me. So I'm going to be able to make a clone here. And let's give this a shot. We put these guys in a group. This could just be too easy for me. Yeah. We'll see. Looks like this event runs for 3 minutes. And so now I can summon the clone. What happens? Nothing happens? Where are you, clone? Oh, wait. Yeah, so there is a clone on the screen. It was like standing in the same spot before. And it's just doing work. It's just doing damage. I mean, that does seem pretty cool. It basically is like giving you a 6th march. Which, it seems pretty good to me. I wonder if I can try to make it... Oh, it's already gone. I'll summon it again. It's dead now. I'll summon it again and see if I can get it to take some damage. And see kind of like how it's doing. It seems cool. Actually seems pretty cool. But this is not a real situation where, like, I'm just getting a free DPS here. I don't know. Also, it'd be really cool if I had some kind of DPS meter. I guess I'd need, like, a battle report to really see how it's doing. We get to summon this guy again in about 20 seconds, and then we'll see how he does. I love that this lets you use the new artifacts. I believe I suggested that it should work that way, and this just makes too much sense. This is the way. Okay. So in 4 seconds, we get to power this thing up. And we'll have plenty of time left in the match to actually use it. All right, there it is. I summoned the unit. Kind of an awkward display, honestly. Do you see how, like... Let's see what I can get him to do. So look at the damage here is so low. Look how low this damage is. I mean, it's like barely doing anything to this guy. Right? I mean, it is technically damage. I mean, I did 3,000. I did 5,000. Did it even do 5,000? And now it's gone. I don't know, man. Is that enough? It's not bursty either. Like often with bursty damage, you can do some cool stuff. Like, you know, even if you're going to die, you can get some big damage in with like a Kingslayer, right? But this, like, if you're overrun, like, you're not getting damage in. Your clone is going to melt. You know what I think? Here's what I think. I think that the clone is a win more mechanic. And I don't like win more mechanics, generally speaking. I like mechanics that, like, help you when you're in trouble. I suppose what you could do to make it not a win more mechanic, to maybe save yourself in a situation, would be to, like, make a clone and send your clone toward the enemy and run your real troop away. But I also feel like it takes too long to actually pull that off. I don't know. So let's try. So I run this way and then I go that way. I don't know. Maybe you can get him to go in 2 different directions. I'm just, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it more and try to come up with an answer on this one. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. I originally actually had finished the video and then saw that I could do this. So let's jump back to the main vid. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. I've got a full playlist of Forge of Light videos. So if you want to see more of those, I'll have cards in the end screen. One for the last Forge of Light that I moved in on, and another for just my read on some of the best artifacts as of this time.